In Genesis chapter 29.
Génesis capítulo 29.
Jacob obtains a wife.
Jacob obtiene una esposa.
Actually, two wives and two concubines.
En realidad, dos esposas y dos concubinas.
What is it, Steve?
He hit the jackpot, didn't he?
Well, they were sisters. Two wives were.
Could be trouble.
Yeah. And it was trouble. Genesis 29, verse 1.
Génesis capítulo 29, verso 1.
Then Jacob went on his journey and came into the land of the people of the east.
Siguió luego Jacob su camino y fue a la tierra de los orientales. Only one. Perdón.
Just verse 1.
Okay.
Then Jacob went on his journey. Then, meaning after he had made his vow to God, Genesis chapter 28, verses 16 through 21.
Entonces Jacob se fue de viaje. Entonces significa después de haber hecho su voto a Dios. Génesis capítulo 28, versículo 16 al 21.
And Jacob awakened out of his sleep, and he said, Surely the Lord is in this place, and I knew it not. And he was afraid and said, How dreadful is this place! This is none other than the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven. And Jacob rose up early in the morning, and took the stone that he had put for his pillows, and set it up for a pillar, and poured oil upon it, upon the top of it. And he called the name of that place Bethel. But the name of that city was called Luz at the first. And Jacob vowed a vow, saying, If God will be with me, and will keep me in this way that I go, and will give me bread to eat and raiment to put on, so that I come again to my father's house in peace, then shall the Lord be my God. And this stone which I have set for a pillar shall be God's house, and of all that thou shalt give me, I will surely give the tenth unto thee.
Génesis capítulo 28, verso 16 al 22. Y despertó Jacob de su sueño, y dijo, ciertamente Jehová está en este lugar, y yo no lo sabía. Y tuvo miedo y dijo, cuán terrible es este lugar, no es otra cosa que casa de Dios y puerta del cielo. Y se levantó Jacob de mañana y tomó la piedra que había puesto de cabecera y la alzó por señal y derramó aceite encima de ella. Y llamó el nombre de aquel lugar Bet-El, aunque Luz era el nombre de la ciudad primero. E hizo Jacob voto diciendo, si fuere Dios conmigo y me guardare en este viaje en que voy, y me diere pan para comer y vestido para vestir, y si volviere en paz a casa de mi padre, Jehová será mi Dios. Y esta piedra que he puesto por señal será casa de Dios, y de todo lo que me dieres, el diezmo apartaré para ti.
And I'm
22.
I said 21. It was actually 22. So
Yeah, you're right.
Ezer caught that. He is traveling to obtain a wife who is not a daughter of Heth, the Hittites specifically, the Canaanites in general, Genesis 27, verse 46.
Está viajando para obtener una esposa que no sea hija de Ed, los hititas específicamente, los cananeos en general. Génesis capítulo 27, verso 46.
And Rebekah said to Isaac, I am weary of my life because of the daughters of Heth. If Jacob take a wife of the daughters of Heth, such as these which are of the daughters of the land, what good shall my life do me?
Y dijo Rebeca a Isaac, fastidio tengo de mi vida y a causa de las hijas de Ed. Si Jacob toma mujer de las hijas de Ed, como estas de las hijas de esta tierra, ¿para qué quiero la vida?
He went to the people of the land of the east, Mesopotamia, Judges 6:3, 1 Kings 4:30, and Job 1:3. And we're not going to read
Fue al pueblo de la tierra del oriente, Mesopotamia, Jueces capítulo 6, verso 3, Primera de Reyes capítulo 4, verso 30 y Job capítulo 1, verso 3.
And I'll let you guys read that. We won't read it tonight.
Pueden leer esto ustedes, no lo vamos a leer acá hoy.
According to Jameson Faust Brown Bible Commentary, this is a trip of 400 miles at that time. That would take some time.
Según el comentario bíblico Jamison Fawcett Brown, un viaje de 400 millas en ese momento, eso llevaría algún tiempo.
Genesis 29, verses 2 through 8. I left the 9 off here.
Génesis capítulo 29, verso 2 al 8.
And he looked, and behold, a well in the field, and lo, there were 3 flocks of sheep lying by it, for out of that well they watered the flocks. And a great stone was upon the well's mouth. And thither were all the flocks gathered, and they rolled the stone from the well's mouth, and watered the sheep, and put the stone again upon the well's mouth in his place. And Jacob said unto them, My brethren, whence be ye? And they said, Of Haran are we. Verse 5, And he said unto them, Know ye Laban, the son of Nahor? And they said, We know him. And he said unto them, Is he well? And they said, He is well. And behold, Rachel his daughter cometh with the sheep. And he said, Lo, he is yet high. And he said, Lo, it is yet high day, neither is it time that the cattle should be gathered together. Water ye the sheep, and go and feed them. And they said, We cannot until all the flocks be gathered together, until they roll the stone from the well's mouth, then we water the sheep.
Génesis capítulo 29, versículo 2 al 8. Y miró y vio un pozo en el campo, y aquí 3 rebaños de ovejas que yacían cerca de él, porque de aquel pozo abrevaban los ganados, y había una gran piedra sobre la boca del pozo. Y juntaban ahí todos los rebaños, y revolvían la piedra de la boca del pozo, y abrevaban las ovejas, y volvían la piedra sobre la boca del pozo a su lugar. Y les dijo Jacob, hermanos míos, ¿de dónde sois? Y ellos respondieron, de Harán somos. Él les dijo, ¿conocéis a Labán, hijo de Nacor? Y ellos dijeron, sí, le conocemos. Y él les dijo, ¿está bien? Y ellos dijeron, bien. Y he aquí Raquel, su hija, viene con las ovejas. Y él dijo, he aquí es aún muy de día, no es tiempo todavía de recoger el ganado, abrevad las ovejas e id a apacentarlas. Y ellos respondieron, no podemos hasta que se junten todos los rebaños y remuevan la piedra de la boca del pozo para que abrevemos las ovejas.
He comes upon a well in the field where the people watered the flocks.
Llega a un pozo en el campo donde la gente daba de beber a los rebaños.
We are told of the routine that they followed.
Se nos cuenta la rutina que siguieron.
He inquires as to who they are and whether they know Laban.
Preguntan quiénes son y si conocen a Labán.
He wants to know why they wait here at this time of the day. They should be out feeding the flocks.
Quieren saber por qué esperan aquí a esta hora del día. Deberían estar afuera alimentando a los rebaños.
They must wait until all are gathered and the stone is rolled away.
Deberían esperar hasta que todos estén reunidos y se retire la piedra.
They point out that Laban's daughter Rachel is coming with Laban's flock.
Señalan que Raquel, la hija de Labán, viene con el rebaño de Labán.
Genesis chapter 29, verses 9 through 14, Jacob meets Rachel and Laban.
Génesis capítulo 29, verso 14. Jacob se encuentra con Raquel y Labán.
And while he yet spake with them, Rachel came with her father's sheep, for she kept them. And it came to pass, when Jacob saw Rachel, the daughter of Laban, his mother's brother, and the sheep of Laban, his mother's brother, that Jacob went near and rolled the stone from the well's mouth and watered the flock of Laban, his mother's brother. And Jacob kissed Rachel and lifted up his voice and wept. And Jacob told Rachel that he was her father's brother, and that he was Rebekah's son, and she ran and told her father. And it came to pass, when Laban heard the tidings of Jacob his sister's son, that he ran to meet him, and embraced him, and kissed him, and brought him to his house. And he told Laban all these things, and Laban said to him, Surely thou art my bone and my flesh. And he abode with him the space of a month.
9 to 14, brother.
Mm-hmm.
Versículo 9 al 14. Mientras él aún hablaba con ellos, Raquel vino con el rebaño de su padre, porque ella era la pastora. Y sucedió que cuando Jacob vio a Raquel, hija de Labán, hermano de su madre, y las ovejas de Labán, el hermano de su madre, se acercó Jacob y removió la piedra de la boca del pozo, y abrevó el rebaño de Labán, hermano de su madre. Y Jacob besó a Raquel, y alzó su voz, y lloró. Y Jacob dijo a Raquel que él era hermano de su padre, y que era hijo de Rebeca. Y ella corrió y dio las nuevas a su padre. Así que oyó Labán las nuevas de Jacob, hijo de su hermana. Corrió a recibirlo y lo abrazó, lo besó y lo trajo a su casa. Y él contó a Labán todas estas cosas. Y Labán le dijo, ciertamente hueso mío y carne mía eres. Y estuvo con él durante un mes.
When he sees Rachel, he is very joyful. He kissed her and wept. He is happy and thankful.
Cuando ve a Raquel se alegra mucho, la besó y lloró. Él está feliz y agradecido.
He was so happy that he went and rolled the stone away and watered the flock of Laban. Adam Clark says that he helped roll it away because it would have been very heavy.
Estaba tan feliz que fue, quitó la piedra y dio de beber al rebaño de Labán. Adam Clark dice que ayudó a retirarlo porque había sido muy pesado.
When he tells Rachel who he is, she runs and tells her father. They are all joyful that he is there.
Cuando él le dice a Raquel quién es, ella corre y se lo dice a su padre. Todos están contentos de que esté ahí.
It is certainly likely that they have not seen or possibly heard anything from Rebekah and of her status for many years.
Es ciertamente probable que no hayan visto ni oído nada de Rebeca ni de su estado durante muchos años.
Remember, it was 400 miles.
Recuerden que 400 millas.
Jamieson Faust Brown Bible Commentary says, among pastoral people, a stranger is freely entertained for 3 days. On the 4th day, he is expected to tell his name and errand, and if he prolongs his stay after that time, he must set his hand to work in some way as may be agreed upon. A similar rule obtained in Laban's establishment, and the wages for which his nephew engaged to continue in his employment was the hand of Rachel.
Entre los pastores un extraño es hospedado libremente durante 3 días. Al 4º día se espera que diga su nombre y su encargo, y se prolonga su estancia después de ese tiempo. Deberá ponerse a trabajar de alguna manera, según se convenga. Una regla similar se obtuvo en el establecimiento de Labán, y el salario por el cual su sobrino se comprometió a continuar en su empleo fue la mano de Raquel, comentario bíblico de Jameson Fawcett Brown.
Genesis chapter 29. I'm just messing the chapters all up. 29, verses 15 through 30, and we're not going to try to read through all of that.
Génesis capítulo 29, verso 15 al 30.
But I do want to read a little bit of it here, beginning in verse 15. And Laban said unto Jacob, Because thou art my brother, shouldest thou therefore serve me for naught? Therefore serve me. Therefore shouldest thou therefore serve me for naught? Tell me, what shall thy wages be? And Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the elder was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. Leah was tender-eyed, but Rachel was beautiful and well-favored. And Jacob loved Rachel and said, I will serve thee 7 years for Rachel, thy younger daughter. And Laban said, It is better that I give her to thee than that I should give her to another man. Abide with me.
Verso 15 al 20, vamos a leer. Entonces dijo Labán a Jacob, por ser tú mi hermano, ¿me servirás de balde? Dime, ¿cuál será tu salario? Y Labán tenía 2 hijas, el nombre de la mayor era Lea y el nombre de la menor Raquel. Y los ojos de Lea eran delicados, pero Raquel era de lindo semblante y de hermoso parecer. Y Jacob amó a Raquel y dijo, yo te serviré 7 años por Raquel, tu hija menor. Y Labán respondió, mejor es que te la dé a ti y no que la dé a otro hombre, quédate conmigo. Así sirvió Jacob por Raquel 7 años y le parecieron como pocos días porque la amaba.
You read through verse 20?
Yeah, 15 to 20.
I only read 19, but I'll read verse 20 here. And Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed unto him but a few days for the love he had to her. Laban offers him wages for his labor. He requests Rachel for a wife.
Labán le ofrece salario por su trabajo, le pide a Raquel una esposa.
He works 7 years for her. Laban gives Leah to him instead.
Él trabaja 7 años para ella. En su lugar, Labán le entrega a Lea.
Verses 22 through 24. 22 through 24.
Verso 22 al 24.
And Laban gathered together all the men of the place and made a feast. And it came to pass in the evening that he took Leah, his daughter, and brought her to him. And he went in unto her, and Laban gave unto his daughter Leah Zilpah, his maid, for an handmaid.
22 al 24. Entonces Labán juntó a todos los varones de aquel lugar e hizo banquete, y sucedió que a la noche tomó a Lea su hija y se la trajo, y él se llegó a ella y dio a Labán su sierva Zilpa a su hija Lea por criada.
It is worthy to note that Jacob, who deceived his brother, was now deceived by his uncle.
Es digno de notar que Jacob, que había engañado a su hermano, ahora fue engañado por su tío.
This, of course, does not excuse Laban's deception. Neither does Laban's claim that it is according to the custom law of the people.
Por supuesto, esto no excusa el engaño de Labán, tampoco lo hace la afirmación de Labán de que es conforme a la costumbre, ley del pueblo.
Notice in verse 26.
Notes en el verso 26.
And Laban said, It must not be so done in our country to give the younger before the firstborn.
Y Labán respondió, no se hace así en nuestro lugar, que se dé la menor antes de la mayor.
Laban tells Jacob to fulfill the week owed to Leah, and then he would give him Rachel as well for another 7 years of labor.
Labán le dice a Jacob que cumpla la semana que le debía a Lea y luego le daría a Raquel también por otros 7 años de trabajo.
14 years. But he got 2 wives and 4 concubines, or 2 concubines, so, and a whole lot of other stuff too. But the wedding festivities lasted a week.
Las festividades nupciales duraron una semana.
Jacob did so and was given Rachel. Laban gave his 2 daughters 2 handmaids for servants.
Jacob así lo hizo y le fue dada a Raquel. Labán dio a sus 2 hijas 2 siervas como sirvientas.
In that day and people, the handmaids belonged to the wives, and the husband had no control over them.
En aquel tiempo y gente, las sirvientes pertenecían a las esposas y el marido no tenía control sobre ellas.
And we talked about that when we talked about Abraham, Sarah as well, and Hagar. Genesis 29, verses 31 through 35.
Génesis capítulo 29, verso 31 al 35.
And when the Lord saw that Leah was hated, he opened her womb, but Rachel was barren. And Leah conceived and bare a son, and she called his name Reuben, for she said, Surely the Lord hath looked upon my affliction. Now therefore my husband will love me. And she conceived again, and bare a son, and said, Because the Lord hath heard that I was hated, he hath therefore given me this son also. And she called his name Simeon. And she conceived again, and bare a son, and said, Now this time will my husband be joined unto me, because I have borne him 3 sons. Therefore was his name called Levi. And she conceived again, and bare a son, and she said, Now will I praise the Lord. Therefore she called his name Judah, and left bearing.
Verso 31 al 35. Y vio Jehová que Lea era menospreciada y le dio hijos, pero Raquel era estéril. Y concibió Lea y dio a luz un hijo y llamó su nombre Rubén, porque dijo, ha mirado Jehová mi aflicción ahora, por tanto me amará mi marido. Concibió otra vez y dio a luz un hijo y dijo, por cuanto oyó Jehová que yo era menospreciada, me ha dado también y llamó su nombre Simeón. Y concibió otra vez y dio a luz un hijo y dijo, ahora esta vez se unirá mi marido conmigo porque le he dado a luz 3 hijos, por tanto llamó su nombre Levi. Concibió otra vez y dio a luz un hijo y dijo, esta vez alabaré a Jehová, por esto llamó su nombre Judá y dejó de dar a luz.
When God sees Leah as hated, he causes her to have children. 4 sons are mentioned here.
Cuando Dios ve que Lea es odiada, hace que ella tenga hijos. Aquí se menciona 4 hijos.
The idea expressed in hated is that he loved her less than Rachel.
La idea expresada en odiada es que la amaba menos que Raquel.
He certainly did not hate her too much, as they had 4 sons here. They would have 2 more sons and a daughter.
Ciertamente no la odiaba demasiado, ya que aquí tenían 4 hijos. Tendrían 2 hijos más y una hija.
You have any questions or comments?
¿Alguna pregunta o comentario?
One, what do you think he means by rock for pillow? Obviously, he didn't sleep on a rock, 'cause that's hard to rock. What do you think they mean by that?
I think he meant a rock. He used rock. He used a rock for it. Some people like firm pillows, I guess. But what we read, actually, the word was not pillow, but pillar. He took the rock that he used for it. Well, he used the rocks that he used for a pillow and made it into a pillar.
Yeah.
But
it seems to
but
me
it's just rocks.
it seems really hard to sleep on.
I wouldn't want to sleep on it, but I guess he liked them.
My other question is, I've been married, unfortunately, twice, but I knew who I married the first time, and I knew who I married the second time. How did he not know who he was marrying the first time?
Well, they would have keep in mind in the society there, and even in some areas over there now, kept their faces veiled. So he wouldn't have necessarily seen her face, and I don't know, were they drinking possibly, or whatnot? But um, apparently, from what I read, again, they should have been covered up and veiled, and then of course when they um, went into the tent, it's by that time it's dark, so you know, assuming that these two girls were similar. Although, again, I mean, I think I've often wondered about that. At some point, you're going to realize, because even in the description of the two, and I was reading some different commentaries on the description, because Leah is said to be tender-eyed, and there's some different ideas on what that means. Whether it means one commentary was actually, or actually I think it was in the translation. It could be translated weak-eyed, that which would seem to indicate her vision, but um, the idea generally viewed was that Rachel, and I want to be careful how I put this. Rachel was shapely and very beautiful and physically attractive. And Leah, one commentary I read actually suggested that Leah had blue eyes, which in that society was not necessarily viewed as attractive. Now, I don't know. I think a lot of this is just kind of speculation on that, but clearly there's some difference in Leah's uh, looks and Rachel's looks. Rachel again uh, was apparently a real beauty, and Leah, I guess, not so much.
That verse talks about it, there's a comparison there. It says Leah was tender-eyed,
Mm-hmm.
but Rachel was beautiful and well favored. It seemed like this, tender-eyed would be her looks, I think, but Rachel was beautiful.
Uh-huh.
Did it say but? Rachel had good eyesight.
Yeah, I know. No, I agree. I agree with you on that. Dennis?
Well, maybe kind of wonder, because, we said they had a feast, and it lasted a week long. Laban probably knew what he was doing, so he might have said, here, Jacob, one more. Because, you go back to Lot with his daughters, they knew the only way they could get that done was to get their father drunk.
And in that case,
doing. I mean, again, it's speculation.
In that case, we're told that they got their dad drunk.
So, here is speculation, but that might have been why he didn't know.
Yeah, but apparently the next morning he kind of figured out, wait a minute, this isn't the wife I agreed on. And again, we read the word hated, and we think of it in the sense that we use it today. Oh, I hate that. But again, and again, I'm not trying to be too graphic here, but Leah had 6 children with Jacob, so he must have not hated her completely. The idea was just that he loved her less, and she was the first wife. Now, later on, not to get too far ahead, but later on, of course, part of it may be when they die, when the individual died, but Rachel, she dies as they're traveling, and he buries her in the tomb that Abraham had. Notice who gets buried with him in that tomb. It's Leah is buried there. So Leah has that honor of being buried in that tomb, which, I mean, at that point, does she really care? But you mentioned, Steve, about problems, and you do see a lot of these problems. We talked about sibling rivalry between Isaac and Esau, and you do see that sibling rivalry. But here you see that rivalry with having multiple wives, that there's that rivalry, and we're going to see that even more as we go through some of these other texts, is that you see that, and you can see that even today when with people who end up with multiple wives. Uh, there are some societies where men marry multiple wives, and we're not talking about married and divorced and remarried, but at the same time, and you see that rivalry that goes. Jim, are you going to say something?
Just one of the things that I read on this is that at this point where he's marrying Leah, Jacob is about 70 years old.
I don't know about that.
I couldn't put things together enough to make a determination on that.
I'd have to go back and check, but I'm not sure the math would add up on that. I just have, again, I'm not sure, because I'm trying to think, because Isaac lived to be 137, I think. He was 40 when he got married. Anyway, I don't know. He was, however old he was, but again, I find it interesting that he ended up being deceived by Laban, who, after he had deceived his brother. And then subsequently, we're going to see, guess what happens with Laban? He gets deceived.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of deception going around in here and all. Hermanos? What this?
My other question would be, okay, Isaac and Jacob are brothers, right? No, Esau.
Esau and Jacob are brothers.
Esau's back there running the farm. And Isaac comes back, but doesn't he realize who's taking care of his half? Well, he's gone. It's his servants.
2/3 actually, because 2/3 actually, because he has the birthright.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if Esau was connected with, I think he left.
Someone has to be
And
doing
Esau
that while he's
is
gone
on.
for like 20 years.
Well, he's
He
still,
came back, he was given him, he said, I've got all that I need.
yeah, Esau.
You know.
Esau's apparently still, I mean, we're not told a whole lot about it, but Esau is apparently still back somewhere in the vicinity of where
Yeah, but
his father is.
I thought he was estranged from his family.
Well,
There's the big split there.
I'd say there's definitely some problems there because of the fact that he married an extra wife just because he saw that it irritated his dad, and I presume his mother as well. But he saw that it irritated his dad that and that Jacob gone to get a wife from these other people, from their people, and so he said, well, "I'll just go get me another wife from, and married Ishmael's
Seems kind of odd that he's gone for
daughter's
20 years.
somehow one of the relatives of Ishmael. So
Seems kind of odd he's gone for like 20 years.
yeah, he is gone, and Jacob or Isaac doesn't die until after they come back.
Well, another interesting observation is that Leah, two of her sons, Levi and Judah, end up being the spiritual leader really of Israel, and Judah, the king from David on. Where Rachel's son, of course, Joseph, we know good he done, but his descendant, if I'm not mistaken, was Jeroboam either Manasseh or Ephraim.
I want to say that he was an Ephraimite, but I'm not sure.
But see, then that would, the split,
Mhm.
you know, here, there's Rachel and Leah.
And that's the promise came through. Obviously, it was coming through Jacob, but it came through Leah, as you
Yeah.
mentioned. You know, Christ came through Leah's son, and so yeah, so it seems that sometimes we and again with the comparisons of Leah and Rachel, it seems that Jacob's or um, Jacob, his view was what? Look how beautiful Rachel is. He wasn't necessarily seeing the beauty that was in Leah, because you see with Leah apparently there was. My perception is Leah had a better character than Rachel did. Again, that's my perception. So take it for what it's worth. But we're going to stop. We're actually a little over time, but